Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Dodge this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Holy Moment Podcast, where we watch movies with you and discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and the moments that reflect truth in unexpected ways. Now, Nathaniel, is this or is this not your favorite sports movie that you've ever seen?
Oh, not where I thought this was going. Gosh. As someone who's not super into sports, I haven't seen a ton of sports movies. What have I seen? I've seen Moneyball. I've seen Facing the Giants. Those are the only two sports movies I can think of off the top of my head. And if that is a true statement, if those are the only two sports movies I can think of, then I would say A Knight's Tale is the best sports movie I've watched, being three sports movies.
No, but you didn't think of it.
No, King Richard. That's a tennis movie, and that was better than this movie. So it's the second best sports movie I've ever seen.
Okay, very cool. But like, did that thought cross your mind at all that this was in fact a sports movie? We're talking about A Knight's Tale, by the way, folks.
Yeah, jousting.
We should probably get that out of the way.
I did not label this as a sports movie, but at some point in the movie, I did think like, this was like a sport people watched back in the day. So I guess I did have the thought that I'm watching a sport in a movie, but no, I never thought like, oh, this is a sports movie.
Well, they really play into it though, because you have people that are wearing their team's colors, and you've got the face paint, and then you've got Geoffrey Chaucer announcing the knight in shining armor, our good Sir Ulrich, or Sir William, as he comes to be known at the end of the movie. No, I mean, this very much is a sports movie, right? There's tournaments, there's points, there is a sense of progression and a title to be achieved by the end of it.
With that definition, do you consider Hunger Games a sports movie? Is Squid Games, the TV show, a sports TV show with that definition?
Well, here's the thing about that, right? With Squid Game and with Hunger Game, the ultimate goal is not to win the game, it's to survive and escape, right?
I mean, that's kind of true about jousting.
No, but like, here's the thing. Their goal is ultimately to dismantle the system, right? Sir William's goal is to win the damn tournament, right? Like, that is what he wants to do, and he is all about that life. He's not like, oh, jousting is unethical. I'm going to win this so that I can burn it to the ground, right? It's not making some statement about society, right? What it's saying, I mean, it is kind of making a statement about society. Like, you can achieve your dreams, right? You can change your stars, but he does that through sports.
Imagine if Facing the Giants was about dismantling society. Be crazy.
Be a very different movie. That's for sure. Like Gladiator, for example, is another. Like, Gladiator is not a sports movie. I could see one hearing my commentary on A Knight's Tale and going, well, I mean, maybe Gladiator is a sports movie then too, because you have the Colosseum, right? And that was a sport. But likewise, that was not his goal was not to be the best gladiator. It was to kill the man responsible for his family's death.
All I'm hearing is that Grave with the Firefly is a sports movie, technically. The sport of trying to survive, World War II and the nuclear bomb in Japan. Sports movie.
Well, I mean, maybe, okay, so that right there, perhaps it's less sports movie. Perhaps that's more reality TV, like Survivor.
Oh, no. Naked and Afraid, but with children.
Oh, no.
It's bad. No. I'm so sorry. You were just trying to ask me if this was a sports movie, and I'm making you chug your coffee.
It's great. There's so little left to chug, but I'll chug it now.
Oh, very good. But yes, I did not view this as a sports movie, but now that you're saying it, it is very sports movie-esque. You got your teams, you got your people cheering them on.
And you got your, what is it? Simple, pure-hearted himbo, right? Like, he doesn't have much going on upstairs, but he's, pure of heart in some sense, right? Single-minded in purpose, like a lot of NFL players, right?
Exactly.
Mocking
all the NFL players today.
No, I'm not mocking. He's just like, they're dedicated, right? And a lot of their brain space is dedicated to the craft. And it's a craft, it's an art, right? I could never do what they do.
This is what we want to see on season 4 of the Holy Moment podcast. Jeffrey going to live tryouts of the NFL.
That would be pretty. Yeah, we'll make it happen. We'll make it
I
happen.
mean, considering your teams are the Titans, I'm sure you could get on. It wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, like last game of the previous season, it's like $15 for tickets, and it was really cool. It was my first NFL game that I'd ever gone to, and I had a blast, right? But they're not doing too great.
Okay, I'm done derailing you. A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale, yes. So, I guess it would behoove us to talk a bit about what A Knight's Tale is, like what the story is. For some background, A Knight's Tale was directed by the one and the only Brian Helgeland. I actually don't know what else he's done.
I looked him up on Letterboxd, and there wasn't really anything of note that I really saw.
Yeah. It was also written. It was directed and written by Brian Helgeland, a true auteur, as it were. He wrote the screenplays for L.A. Confidential and Mystic River. I think I've heard of L.A. Confidential, but not Mystic River.
I'm in the same boat.
The movie stars Heath Ledger, right, of Joker fame, right, Dark Knight fame, and of course he was in other stuff too. I think 10 Things I Hate About You is the rom-com. Have you seen that one?
I have not, but yeah, how could you forget? He's, I believe, one of the leads in Brokeback Mountain Ridge.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. He's riding horses in this. That's what they share in common. He's riding horses in both of them.
Oh, exactly.
And other
Like,
things he's riding in both of them.
Yeah. Honestly, the way that William was looking at Adamar sometimes, and the way that Adamar was looking at him, there was something there, right?
He looked at Admar and said, "Next time you see me, you're going to be looking at me from your back, looking up at me. If that ain't gay, I don't know what is."
Listen, I don't blame him. Adamar, those piercing green eyes, man, what a specimen is what I'll say.
Our protagonist and antagonist were both very hot.
Yeah, that is very true. But anyhow, man, what was I saying?
Talking about the director.
Yeah, the director, Brian Helgeland. You've got William. He's a squire, right? He's got his buddy squires, Roland and Watt, right? And they're squires to this knight who's been doing pretty well at this local tournament, jousting tournament. And it's about his turn to step up to the plate, right? And have a go at his last round. Unfortunately, their knight is dead. And he has to go up soon, or else they lose the match and they don't get the money, and they have to eat. But that's when William hatches a plan. He's like, oh, well, wait a minute. I've always wanted to be a knight. I've always wanted to joust. Maybe this is my opportunity. So they take the armor off of the dead man, and he jousts his first joust. And it goes quite well. I mean, his face is dented in, but he wins the tournament. And from there, they conspire to continue, right? Just going to tournaments, winning them, competing. But this is scandalous because he's a commoner, and only the nobility are allowed to joust. But this is sort of how this tale begins, right? He has fashioned for himself a new identity with the help of traveling writer Geoffrey Chaucer. Yes, the Geoffrey Chaucer, real life Geoffrey Chaucer, who wrote the Canterbury Tales, who serves as a sort of hype man, right? An announcer for our hero, who is now going under the name of Lord Ulrich, Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein of Gelderland. Right? And I think that's a pretty good encapsulation of the first part of the movie. Well, he meets a girl, right? Very aloof, very independent, and isn't really taking advances from many knights because all the knights are overly concerned about their own achievements, right? I will win this for you, right? Well, you would want to win it anyway. And she's not impressed by that at all. But he's got a little spunk to him. And he's got a little something else. He's got a little something under the chest called a heart. And that's what impresses her. And so from there, we also meet his rival Adamar with the piercing green eyes and the chiseled chin and the dark curly hair against the sorry, y'all are just gonna hear me thirst about Adamar for like the next hour and a half.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. He is the Count of Anjou, and he is also vying for Jocelyn's heart. That's the lady that William has fallen in love with. And he's also very jealous, very competitive, and a great jouster, right? And there a rivalry is born. And there is also where I will stop, right? For now. Um, Nathaniel, did you have any thoughts about that first act of the movie?
My first thought is, I forgot that Jeffrey's really good at narrating things. Jeffrey in college would often come up to you and start talking to you about like this new short story or poem he's reading. And you'd be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then he would pull out the hardcover copy of it and then start reading it to you. And I miss it. I miss it. We were in a car trip one time, and he just read like the first portion of Lord of the Rings or something. It was Jeffrey is a good narrator, and so it's nice listening to you recap uh, A Knight's Tale. But yeah, there's quite a few things that stick out to me in this movie. As per usual, didn't know really anything going in. I added this to my watch list 6 or so months ago because I think Vega added this to his watch list. And often if I see him adding something, I'll usually copy it and be like, I'm sure it's good. I'll get around to it at some point. Or maybe Jeffrey, maybe you watched it and I copied it because of you. But all that to be said, it's been on my watch list. I knew it was kind of medieval piece, and I like medieval stuff, but there's not a lot of it that exists out of more fantasy realm. So I enjoyed it. But the thing that stuck out to me the most in the first act, I loved how they just got into this movie. They just open up and the three squires were like, dude, this knight's dead. Like within the first like 10 seconds, they're just like, he's dead. Quick, go be in his place. So I really appreciate that they set it up really quickly. They set up this grand idea of a peasant boy who must climb the ranks and become a great noble knight. They set it up super fast, and it has great satirical humor. They really balanced between a classical a classic story with a lot of heart and a lot of and good stakes, but then also some like really funny irony and some witty writing. So I think right at the beginning, and then we get that opening. The three squires find the dead knight, and William's like, "I'll fight," in his post. And then we cut to the jousting grounds, and what do we have going on? Everyone's singing "We Will Rock You"
We will
by
rock
Queen.
you.
And again, this is
Yeah.
this is the medieval times. And it wasn't like oh, this song's playing over the scene. They were singing it. They were beating their drums to it. There were people playing their trumpets in the same tune as like the violin, or not the violins, the guitars in the song and the drums. Very funny, very goofy. So something I love about the first act is it really wears itself on its sleeve. It's a very 2000-esque feeling movie, but unique because we're in this weird medieval realm. And I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought they did a good job encapsulating and capturing the humor, but also the heart. Like you said, this movie has so much heart in it. It's what I'm excited to talk about throughout. You'll hear me say heart a lot. This movie just did a good job writing, setting up stakes and setting up payoffs and stakes, and they just did a great job with it. And I really enjoyed watching our characters from beginning to end go through this fun adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. And the music, that's what struck me the first time I watched this as well, is just I felt like I was body slammed. It was just the dissonance, right?
Yeah.
Between what I was expecting and what I was receiving. And it was a glorious dissonance. I enjoyed being body slammed in that moment. And we just get that throughout the movie. A lot of these anachronistic songs, right? You would not associate them with the Middle Ages, but here they are, right? And they're working. And it's not a jukebox musical, right? Even though it incorporates like modern songs, and even though the characters in the movie are responsive to this music, it's not like they're bursting out into song and that's how they're telling the story. It's the people that are singing along are sort of singing along as you would sing along if you heard Country Road, turn on the radio. It's like, oh, I know this song.
It makes sense in the context. They're singing either at sporting events. We sing at sporting events. They're singing at ballroom dancing. There's songs at ballroom dancing. So they're always incorporating these songs in ways that you're not breaking out and just singing randomly in the streets. It always makes sense. There's music there. It's just funny that it's 21st century music. The one thing that I think, okay, to be honest with you, the music was fun. It was a fun, I don't want to use the word gimmick, but it was a fun way to set the tone. I the first song and the last song by far my favorite needle drops. We Will Rock You, and then by Queen, and then All Summer Night Long by AC/DC. One of my favorite songs of all time. I'm not even a big like rock or AC/DC fan. I just love that song. And so when they ended on the kiss and the pan up to the sky and that like riff started, that famous riff, I was like, that's awesome. What a great way to end the movie. The point is, the one thing I wish they'd done differently, middle of the movie, kind of when William is finally kind of getting Jocelyn to like him and they show up to a party together and they're dancing together. And at first it's like classical dancing music. And then I love that they went into kind of a more modern song and they kind of danced more modernly, which was a really funny thing. But I wish it was more of a well-known pop song. Like I wish they played like Billie Eilish. Again, I know this is 2001 and she wasn't a thing in this period, but like I wish it was a little more like soul. I think if it was like Soldier Boy came on, I think that would have been hilarious.
I actually agree. I think that song that came on is a good song, but I was feeling it needed something a little more.
They need to lean because all the other times they leaned into it. I feel like the song they picked kind of still felt fit the vibe of like ballroom dancing. But yeah, if they just went in like full on like Soldier Boy rapping or some like punk rock, some like Green Day or something, I would have like fall out of my chair laughing. But all that to be said, I really like the needle drops. I think they they did a phenomenal job of walking the line of like because you can add in like it's a weird juxtaposition. Hey, we're gonna take medieval knights and be somewhat historically accurate, but then we're gonna put 21st century music in it. Like that's already like a juxtaposition that I think you could get too gimmicky with. But I feel like it didn't pull away. It added to the story because again, it's a very it's a comedy. It's like a drama, action, romance comedy, heavy on the comedy. So I don't think it detoured, but I do think you could have. I do think you could have pushed too much into this needle dropping, funny 21st century, but I think they did just enough to where it really added to the atmosphere of the humor of this medieval movie.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. On the topic of historical accuracy, I will say the reason I chose this movie, right? This movie I chose for the category of hobbies, and that's because I am very interested in medieval history, right? The first movie that I thought I'd choose for this category was The Last Duel, which I think is that Ridley Scott?
I think so.
I
With
don't know.
Matt
Yeah.
Damon and also Denzel Washington, Black and White came out in
Um,
like 2022.
I don't know if it was black and white,
Am I thinking of a different
but
movie? I might be thinking of a different movie then.
Denzel Washington, I believe that was Macbeth.
Yeah, no, I know he was Macbeth, but there was another movie that I think came out in like 2022. Oh, you know what? Email us at the Holy Moment Podcast if we're thinking of the same movie
Yeah.
or if we're thinking of different movies, or I'm just completely wrong.
Adam Driver was also in The Last Duel.
Okay, was it A24?
But it was
No, if
I
it was
think it was
Ridley,
A24.
I don't know if it was Ridley Scott. I don't believe it. Anyways, who knows?
Anyway, so that movie is about a real event in history, and there was a concerted effort to make it very historically accurate, and that was my first thought. And then I realized that the list that I was compiling had too many of a certain kind of serious toned movie, and I wanted to move away from that, and so I went with A Knight's Tale instead.
I'm really happy you did because one of the big things I took away was like this was a fresh feel for the podcast. This felt different than most things we watch. I feel like I can put a lot of movies we watch into two really broad camps. Either like blockbuster action, which is hard to talk about because it's just boring in my opinion. Like it's, shoot me if you want. The Mummy, Terminator. Yeah, there's some genre defining things about them, but it's just hard to like get into the depth about it. And then there's some like the more indie things, which I'm not saying they're necessarily better, but they're easier to get into the nitty gritty when it comes to something like Memento, or Iron Claw, or older movies like when we watch Psycho or when we're talking about Paper Moon. But I feel like this movie was one of the first. I guess it kind of falls in the thing of Tangled, where I know that sounds like a really weird comparison, but it's like it's a more of like an everyday man's movie. It's not like the most indie crazy writing or anything like that. But it wasn't like there was enough substance to it where I watched it. I was like, hey, I had a lot of fun. This isn't anything crazy, but I had a lot of fun, and there's enough here to talk about and dissect, in my opinion, compared to like some of the more boring blockbuster movies we could talk about. Um, But all that to be said, it felt fresh is really what I'm trying to say in a babbling way.
No, I think that's an astute observation, right? We definitely go to extremes here on the podcast. Yeah, we've got those high octane action, but there's really not much substance. And then we have the more serious films, and then we have Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, and Dougal, right? So I guess 3 categories of films that we've covered.
Oh gosh.
No, I'm gonna make it a point to have more films like that in future seasons. Like have Hot Rod. I really want to see that
Hot
movie with you.
Rod.
I want to.
Jeffrey, we watched that movie at your house.
No, we didn't.
No, okay. You know what?
It's
the
not
Holy
Palm
Moment-
Springs, right?
The
we
Holy
watched
Moment
Palm
podcast
Springs.
fans. Not only did I watch the movie Jeffrey in his house, I watched that movie in the room Jeffrey's currently filming the podcast on that couch behind him. It was you,
Wait.
me, Corinne, and Maximus. It was when we visited, and then we went to City Cafe and got cake later that night. We watched it because Corinne loves Hot Rod.
Corinne loves Hot Rod. It wasn't Palm Springs. It was Hot Rod.
I mean, we might have watched Palm Springs together in college, but we watched Hot Rod like earlier this year or like late last year, within a calendar year.
Listen, man, I love Hot Rod. I would watch it again.
Don't cover up that you forgot that we watched this together in the room you're sitting in. I do
wild.
like Hot Rod. I really did enjoy Hot Rod. I personally think it. Oh, granted, I need to watch. Almost a Talladega Nights. That kind of falls in the same category. Napoleon Dynamite. I haven't seen it since I was like 10, but I think I like Hot Rod more than Napoleon Dynamite. But
I would agree, and that might be a hot take, but I just do. I don't know what to say.
When we put it on the list and we review them, that will be the hot take. We'll dive into it. Maybe next season you put on Hot Rod and I'll put on Napoleon Dynamite and we can get into it.
That'd be fun. Yeah. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying, right? The Last Duel, highly accurate to history, right? And then A Knight's Tale, which is trying to be a good time over and above any historical accuracy. Like Geoffrey Chaucer, right? Being Sir William's hype man. Dude's a distinguished author. I don't know if he had a gambling problem. I don't think he did, but it's just so fun where like you're thrown into this really wacky world and then you see real figures that are playing a very real role in the story.
Wacky world, but still really grounded. Like yes, you have the music, which is the most least grounded thing. But like put that aside.
Yeah.
It's still like, no one's doing anything crazy. They're jousting, which was a real thing. The jousting seemed somewhat realistic, in my opinion, that knows literally nothing about jousting. But like, no one was doing anything too crazy. So like I appreciated it, even though I'm sure it was very historically inaccurate. If you know nothing about history, it doesn't seem like, oh, and then dragons came out of nowhere and ate the princess. It was still somewhat grounded feeling.
No, for sure. Like one instance though of historical inaccuracy that I noticed was she sends word to Williams like, what are you wearing for the banquet tonight? What tunic are you wearing? And then he goes on to describe, or Roland describes the tent, right? Basically. Green.
That did not dawn on me. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, no, and so the outfit was made from the tent canvas. It was green with like a paler green trim and like wooden knobs, and you see all those things directly behind him. Yeah. That was a great moment. I was looking forward to seeing the tunic, right? And I say tunic with emphasis because I was expecting historically accurate tunic. I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's a longer, not quite a dress, but
I feel like
you might
imagine
confuse
a cape,
it for a dress.
but then there's a cape on your front and your back, and then you pin the cape on the sides. Really, that's like a pretty accurate description of a tunic.
I think that's like a form of a tunic. That might be a surcoat. Anyway, I had a very specific image in mind. He shows up to the party. He's just in a button-up. It's not a tunic.
I mean, his outfit looked awesome. I remarked to my wife in that moment. I was like, "Oh, that's a great outfit. He looks so cool."
Yeah, well, I was too butthurt about it not being historically accurate to really appreciate the fashion. But like, they weren't going for that in this movie.
Yeah.
At one point, Jocelyn was wearing like a fedora.
Yeah. Her hair is like dyed purple, I think, at some point at the dance.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is that historical? Did they do that? Did they have anime girls back then?
No, unfortunately not.
No, they lived in a dark time. That's why it's called the Dark
Truly.
Ages.
Which, by the way, is a myth. So yeah, the Enlightenment thinkers wanted to distinguish themselves from their medieval predecessors, and so they spun this yarn that for all the Middle Ages there was a period of intellectual darkness, right? Of technological stagnation, which perhaps immediately after the fall of the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire, that might have been the case for a bit, but then very quickly there were advancements in technology, specifically in agriculture and architecture, right? Like Gothic architecture, the development of vaulted ceilings and buttresses that allowed them to make rooms that were entirely out of glass, and yet the structure was supported, and cool stuff. But that's a tangent, right? Just goes to show you that this is my hobby. I love learning about these things. Yeah, so that's sort of what inspired my choice of movie. Is just the hobby. But to a point that you were talking about earlier, just us being thrown into the movie at the beginning, right? Not much build up. We're just with the squires and their knight is dead. I thought that was very cool, right? A very efficient way of telling the story. And we don't really hear about William's childhood or his background prior to that moment until much later in the film. But at the start of the film, we already know pretty much everything there is to know to get a good feel for who William is, right? He's a ratty peasant with a desire to change his stars, and he jumps at opportunities to do so. He's a go getter, he's fearless, and all these things are established very quickly. And he's a consistent character too throughout the film, consistent in his code. And that doesn't mean that he is being consistent in his code. Sometimes his code causes him to be selfish and act in ways that are arrogant or unwise. And I thought that that was cool. Like as fun as the story was and as classically structured as it was, he's not like a morally ambiguous character, but he's also just not a perfect character. He's not a stereotypical I always do the right thing sort of knight. He's like I have these principles and I'll stick by these principles, and it'll sometimes get me hurt and the people around me hurt, but I'm stubborn, right? He's stubborn. And I like that about him.
I thought he was a lot of fun to watch as our main character. Don't get me wrong. I think there's so many different ways to write a main character, and there's no right or wrong way. But something that you don't see very often that I thought this movie was a lot of fun because of it was you're right. He was not a perfect character without any flaws, but he was a he had a heart of gold. He was a good person at the end of the day. Like when we
He
found out
wanted to
his
do right by people.
yeah, yeah. And we found out his backstory of being a peasant. He just wanted to change his stars and become something, rise above his station, if you were to say with Hamilton. He wanted to be more than be a peasant. And sure, like you said, he's a little prideful, a little arrogant. But again, you want some flaws in your characters. But at the end of the day, he ultimately was making good decisions. He was caring to his friends. He was kind to people around him, and we saw he was courageous and fought the right battles at the end of the movie. And so he was refreshing to watch. He was not morally ambiguous. He was not a sleazy person who had to make all the wrong decisions to only grow by the end of the movie. Sometimes it's just fun watching a character who's like a good guy. And I enjoyed watching Heath Ledger just be kind of a charismatic, kind of a himbo type character, but ultimately a good person at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like one scene that I thought was very interesting is at around the middle of the movie, right? He's been winning a lot of tournaments, and he has that established rivalry with Adamar, and he wants to um, show Adamar up because Adamar humiliated him. And he's starting to get a little mean with the people around him. And he meets with Jocelyn in a church, and she wants him to speak poetry to her, right? Because he wrote her a very beautiful letter that pulled from various sources of inspiration, like from his friends, and she wanted him to speak things like that to her again. But he was very single-minded, not really in the right mode to give that. And so he said what every knight has said to her, like, I'm gonna win this tournament for you. And that really rubs her the wrong way. Because she's already expressed that she doesn't want people to win tournaments for her, right? winning tournaments is a worthy goal in and of itself. They would pursue it whether or not she were in the picture. It's not love if it's incidental to your main goal. It's not love if it, you know, it just so happens to be in the direction of something else greater that you want. Sometimes love requires sacrifice. Sometimes love requires going against your own interests. And so she puts forth a challenge for him. If you want to show me that you love me, you're going to lose this. And in that moment, he's furious. He's like, I am going to win this. I am not a loser, right? I am a knight. And he storms off. But here's where his heart of gold comes in, is he has that little outburst and he has that moment of pride. But when the moment comes, right, he finds himself in the stadium, ready to joust, and he just takes the hits. He just takes the hits. And his friend's like, what are you doing? He says, well, I love her, and this is the right thing to do. And so he just gets pummeled for the majority of the tournament until Jocelyn gets the memo that, okay, he's serious about this. I'm going to give him that extra oomph so that he can win now. Which, like, we can talk about whether or not that was loving on her end to give him this challenge. But I think the idea that it expresses that love is not a selfish thing, I thought that was a very cool message. And I think that he embodied it well in that moment. I think he responded to the call.
Something that I just love about this movie, like, I feel like at first glance, no one's like hating on this movie. No one's like, this is garbage and 0 out of 5. But I feel like you could watch this and you could brush it off as like, oh, what a fun, dumb movie. But the more I watched it, the more I was getting floored by the writing, specifically in how they did humor, and then the writing and how they made our characters, how we wanted to root for our characters, how they specifically did stakes, setups, and payoffs was, I think, classic textbook. And so for me, I really just think this movie was just so well done. And it's just the humor for me. As Jeffrey, as you were explaining that scene, I was just reliving it, and I just remembered the humor. I feel like it could have. I feel like they could have done Mighty Python type humor, which is great for Mighty Python. It works for it, but I feel like for this, it's not what you want. You don't want the super big, exaggerated, like how Jeffrey said earlier when Randall, his squire, was basically just describing the tent as what William was going to be dressed up in. You could have done the classic shot of Randall's face being like, oh, what? And then like his POV of the tent. And then him being like, oh, it's green and there's wood. Like they didn't do that. The writing was smart. The humor was intelligent. It didn't play down to you. Was it like dumb humor? Yes, but it was dumb humor done well. And so that's just something that I really enjoyed. But then the themes and the messaging, going back to Jeffrey and sacrificial love. Gosh, for us talking so much about feminist and movies, this is probably the most feministic movie we've reviewed, besides, I guess, Little Women. But Jocelyn, she was all about like, hey, women aren't allowed to talk in this society. Women are just objects for men to win. I'm not an object to be won. So if you just want to win me, if you just want to use your pride and say, I'm going to win this for you like everyone else, then that's not worth it. So I think, maybe in the 21st century, it wouldn't really be great with how she handled it. But I think for that day and that age, for like the women being taken advantage of, the women being seen as objects, I think it was totally fine for her to be like, hey, I need to actually make sure you're up to snuff. I need to make sure you're a guy I want to fall in love with. And to do that, I need to make sure I'm more than an object to you. And this is how I can do it. So I love that she did that. And I loved that he stormed out. I love that he said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it made him not perfect. And it made him not just like, because I didn't want it to be at the end of the day a full-blown romance. And it wasn't. Like that, the romance, William and Jocelyn's, was a huge part of it. But also him stepping above his stations, chasing after the stars, becoming a knight was a bigger part of it. And him proving himself to himself was probably the biggest part of the story. And so I love that at first he said no. And then we get him about to joust, and his horse walks out a few steps, and then he kind of just goes limp, and he just slumps down. And his squire's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I guess I'm losing. And I just thought it was so funny and fun. And that is the same word twice.
Yeah. No, I think that initial refusal gives more weight, more power to that moment, right? It's more cinematically effective that he is like, no, I am going to win. And then later, that look of resignation, the contrast of, I guess I'm losing.
And that's what this movie did phenomenally. What you just said there, the weight it gives and then reverses it. It's doing it constantly. For example, pretty early on in the movie, William wins over Jocelyn. Like we set up this whole idea, Abahir, how do you say his name? The bad guy.
Adamar?
Adamar. We set up pretty quickly. Adamar and William are at each other's throats. Adamar is like royalty. William is a peasant. Adamar is everything. William is not. He has money. He has stature. He was born to be doing this, and he's the best jouster in all the land. So they're immediately opposed foes, diametrically opposed foes, to continue to quote Hamilton. But we see William win over Jocelyn right away. Because again, Jocelyn's not playing to Adamir's BS. Adamir's like, you're a woman. You're an object to me. He's kind of charismatic in his own way, but like in a very demeaning way. So she's not swayed for a moment. She's like, you're dumb. I like this guy over here who has heart. So from the very beginning of the movie, you're like, oh, well, okay, actually, there are no stakes. But again, it's putting that weight. They just did so many smart things. Normally, you would have had, at the very beginning, Adamir would have been like, oh, it doesn't matter what you think. I'm like a duke, and so I'm going to tell your father you have to marry me. And then that would have been the stress, and that would have been what the whole movie is about undoing, and to win over Jocelyn's hand by the end of the movie. But they do the opposite. William wins over Jocelyn's hand in the first act. But then, towards the end of the movie, that's when Adamir pulls out the reverse Uno. Hey, I know you guys are already sleeping together. Hey, I know she already loves you. I know you guys are already an item. Well, guess what? I went and talked to her dad. He's giving me the blessing to marry her. She doesn't matter. Her voice opinion doesn't matter. She's a woman. I'm gonna take her hand in marriage. So they shifted the structure of the payoffs, the setups and payoffs in unique ways that I hadn't seen before. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's just small things like that made the structure more interesting to watch. And just another example that I liked was Adamir and William. They fight again in the first third of the movie. They fight and William loses to him. And so then again, you have this setup of a weight of I must redeem my honor and I must fight him again. And so again, you could have had the whole movie leading up. Oh, they're battling in different tournaments. They're both coming out on top. Oh, now they made it to the Super Bowl of jousting and they're going to fight each other. But I like that at the very beginning of the movie, they set up this rivalry and that William lost to him. Again, just another kind of redefining the setup and payoffs and the stakes of the movie was good.
Yeah, and William is expecting to face off against Adamar again, sort of midway through the movie, and he's really trying to get good and get to that point so that he can face off against Adamar, only to find out, oh, Adamar has been called to this battle, right? And so he's not going to be participating in these tournaments anymore. And Will is frustrated. He's like, what have I been doing? And so there's that like give and take that way. We expect, okay, he's going to be a more consistent presence throughout the film. Adamar, it's going to be Adamar and Will. But we leave Will in a state of frustration and stasis because he's not able to face off against Adamar for reasons that are beyond anyone's control. And then Adamar's the same way. He's hearing word that Will's winning all of these tournaments and he's frustrated. He wants to get back into the fray. And so that makes their final confrontation all the more satisfying.
Yeah, it made it less stereotypical. Oh, you're the big bad guy. I'm going to, like in any sporting, I guess, movie, you're the big bad guy. You're the best pitcher. You're the best punter. You're the best kicker. I don't know much about sports. You're my main rival. I'm going to defeat you. And obviously that was a big part of the movie. But like Jeffrey said, he was taken out of the whole middle act because of this war. And it allowed William and us as the audience to watch him go on a different story route, which I think, again, just made the movie more robust and less predictable and less stereotypical. So again, just like really, really well done movie. I'm just surprised with how much I'm returning and thinking about, like, they took all of the stereotypical like structures and twisted on its head just a little bit to make it kind of unique. And I think that's just 10 out of 10 filmmaking.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I guess we can separate the movie into three acts, where that first act is them getting Will in his jousting groove, meeting Jocelyn, being beat by Adamar. The middle act would be he's attained a level of prominence and is now put in a position where he has to lose to prove his love to Jocelyn, right? And the third act is where Adamar returns from battle. They're going to London for essentially the grand championship.
The Super Bowl of jousting, as it were.
The Super Bowl of jousting, as it were. And this is actually where we begin to learn more about Will's past, right? And his childhood and the events that led him to being a squire to Sir Ector. And this is where we get to see his dad for the first time in that flashback and encouraging his son Will to dream higher than their current station, right? Not to give in to this idea that he is necessarily and forever lesser. And then we see his dad's sacrificial act of love in choosing to be separated from his son to give his son a better life. And he hasn't seen his dad in 12 years, right? So not only is this emotional because he's going to this grand championship, but he might have an opportunity to see his dad. What did you think about the dad character?
I loved it. I was so surprised because we got little hints in the first and second act that there was a dad character. He was supportive, but he didn't really seem anymore. But it wasn't much. But like it really is the third act. You get all of it. You really start with because William is heading back to London, and you get a moment of like him and all of his squires, Watt, Roland, and Geoffrey, have all not been back to London in a long time, their home country. And so they're all reminiscing, like, I haven't been home in 6 months or 2 years, 5 years. And then William's like, I haven't been home in 12 years. And then we get a flashback of and them in the same boat, but now it's his dad and him as a little boy, and they show up. And that's when the dad is like, hey, I can't do much for you. I'm a poor, not very smart peasant. What I can do for you is give you an opportunity. So go serve under this knight, and maybe one day you can rise above your station and chase after the stars, change your destiny. And it was so heartfelt. Like I don't know, just like I feel like I could have had the annoyance of like, why are we waiting to like give such an important background and motivation for our character into the third act? But again, just something about the wonky structure of when we introduce certain things and certain stakes and certain motivations, it just like worked for me.
Here's what I think, right? So we talked about how the movie just sort of throws us into the action, and we're immediately put in a situation where, okay, we have these ragtag peasants and their knight has died, and now Will's going to take up the mantle. And we've already discussed how that beginning portion already gives us all the information we need to know about Will to understand his story, right? Or his motivations. And I think that us having all of that time to spend with Will as an adult makes it so that we care more about his backstory once it shows up. It's not that like, okay, I'm watching this kid, right? And things are happening to this kid that are going to change how he views life going forward. And now, in very linear fashion, we're going to him as an adult. It's like, no, we're getting to know this adult, right? And once we've gained this level of familiarity, we like this guy. Now we're curious, like, why is he the way that he is? And then this third act answers that question with the flashback. And it causes you to be more invested.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Jeffrey. It reminds me of a story when we were in film school. I wrote a script and I asked my professor to read over it. It was a pilot episode for an animated TV series, and one of the big feedback criticisms he had was like, "Hey, I feel manipulated as an audience member when you try to make me feel really sentimentally bad for a character right away. Oh, the dead mother. Oh, they went through this horrible hardship. Oh, this or that. Like, you don't earn it. If you just try and shove sadness and tragedy backstory in my face right away, I'm not saying it can't work. Again, the nice thing about film is you can do everything right and everything wrong in different ways. But he just said in general, it feels like the audience will often feel like a manipulation. And so, like Jeffrey said, it didn't feel like manipulation because we got to know William and we wanted to know William. So when they started giving us tidbits about the dad, we were hungry for it. Okay, well, this guy that we like, but we don't know a lot. What makes him tick? We want to know now what makes him tick. Whereas if we opened with it, I could 100% see the movie open with that. The dad and him in this boat with the London fog, and they roll up, and he's like, "Go serve this knight, serve him well, and rise above your station." That 100% could have been the opening of the movie. But I think it would have been not as good, not as unique, not as well effective with storytelling. So all that to be said, love the storytelling with the dad. Genuinely got misty-eyed. I don't cry a whole lot, but when he reunited with the dad and he walks in and the dad is now blind, so he doesn't know it's his son, and they kind of have that coy conversation, and the dad told him many years ago when he left him with the knight of like, and William's like, well, how do I find my way home, dad? And the dad's like, simple, just follow your feet. And then when the dad is finally like, did you follow your feet home? And then you realize he knows that he's talking to his son and they hug. It just was like, it was so heartwarming.
The subtext was so well done, and I think that that scene also would not have been what it was if it weren't for the fantastic performance that the dad gave. Oh, goodness. I got teary-eyed as well, right? Just seeing how wet this blind man's eyes were as his voice is
Ew.
shaking.
Don't describe it as blind man's eyes as wet.
I mean, that's what they were, like moist. What do you want me to say? But
Not crunchy.
but not crunchy. Opposite of crunchy, right? Um, no, it was genuinely moving, and you could tell that this was a long time coming. I'm actually looking up the name of the actor that played. Okay, Christopher Casanova.
Yeah, I thought he did a very good job. I thought he was good in present day older dad blind. Again, there's something nice about movies that have nice characters. It was great seeing this peasant dad down on his luck, poor. Everyone's making fun of him, and he's like, you know what, son? No, you can do whatever you set your mind to. Any human being can change their history, their destiny if they work hard enough. And he just was loving and caring. And again, just like that moment where he had to like give his 12-year-old son away because he's like, this is all I can offer you. The best thing I can offer you is a hope, a chance, a shot. And I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, and even like after their reunion, that's the word I was looking for. Even when they're just hanging out in front of the fireplace, eating dinner together, right? You could tell there was so much love between them. No complicated feelings of like, you gave me up, or it was really happy to be in that moment. And then that made Adamar's appearance outside the home all the more shocking, or like my stomach dropped at that moment, knowing that this heartwarming moment had between father and son is going to lead to consequences. And that's exactly what it did, because Adamar informs the authorities that be that Sir Ulrich is not, in fact, a noble, right? He is, in fact, a commoner, the son of a thatcher, and a blind thatcher at that. And his friends catch wind of this, and they go to Will and they say, "Hey, like you can't walk out there now because they're waiting for you. They have a whole posse uh, of guards that are primed to put you under handcuffs and take you to prison. And so you have two options. You either go out there to compete and then you're going to be arrested, or you run." And this is where, like, Will, just who he is a man of principle. He is a knight. He is one that does not back away from a challenge. Is this the right thing to do in this circumstance? I don't know. I think that you could make solid arguments either way, right? That yes, it's honorable to go out there and face arrest courageously, wanting to be like a competitor. But there's also nobility in being there for his loved ones. And so this is where his stubbornness gets him into territory that perhaps there is a little more moral grayness to it. But it ultimately works out in the end. He goes out, he is arrested, he's put in prison, he's put in the stocks. And as people are heckling him and throwing fruit and vegetables at him, a hooded figure in the audience comes forward. He takes the hood off, right, and reveals himself to be Edward, the Black Prince of Wales, right? Now, this is important because earlier in the movie, Will actually faced off against Thomas Colville, is what Edward was going under, the pseudonym that he was going under. He faced off against him and essentially won. But like he won in such a way that allowed Edward to keep his honor, right? Because he had never completed a match. He didn't want to just forfeit. And so they did a ceremonial pass and Edward withdrew. And then there was a second meeting between them where it was discovered by those in attendance that this Thomas Colville is in fact Edward, Prince of Wales. And Adamar, he hears this and doesn't want to get in trouble with the law, right? And doesn't want to risk hurting Edward. And so he just resigns from the match. And Will clocks that Edward is disappointed, that he was wanting a challenge. He didn't want his reputation as king to get in the way of his jousting, right? And he didn't want his position to affect the way that people treated him. And so Will, in contravention of all conventional wisdom, he goes out to meet Edward bravely, right? And he actually wins the match. And he actually addresses Prince Edward as Prince Edward. And Edward respects that. You actually gave me what I wanted. You were actually the one to respect me out of all these people who were so fearful of disrespecting me. And all of this comes back around to when William is in stocks, right? And Edward sees him and he goes, this man here is noble of spirit, no matter his birth. And if he is not a noble by law, I will make him a noble by law. And I will make it so that he can participate in this grand championship. It's Will's nobility of character, and it's his consistency that has led him to this moment, to being freed, to his stars having been changed. Right? And I thought that was a very good example of setup payoff as well. Like, what do you think of Will's relationship with Edward?
Yeah, I think, like you said, a good setup and payoff. Just sprinkling in this idea that Edward the Prince is around and impressed with William. And again, such a fun, such another good idea of writing of like, just because we're noble doesn't mean we're not people who want to experience battle, want to experience this sport. And so I think it was really cool that Will was like, actually, the greater thing than to brown nose you and suck up to you, it's to treat you like a man. It's to fight you like you're equal. I don't care if you're the king of England. I'm going to fight you like you're equals. And so I think it just was a fun little setup. And then he came and saved them at the end of the day. So it is a good example of a setup and payoffs. And what I specifically like about this third act is their use of stakes. So when the third act starts and it is my wife and I are doing a binge of Harry Potter currently. So I keep wanting to calling jousting Quidditch. I keep wanting to be like when they go play Quidditch, which is just not correct. I specifically keep wanting to say the sentence of the Super Bowl Quidditch, which is just a funny sentence to say. But when the third act opens up with the Super Bowl jousting, and the first stakes we get is Adamir and William. They're right next to each other. They're playing offs, they're gonna go play in the championship and win, and they're gonna battle each other at the end, and they know it because they're the best. And Adamir sees that William and Jocelyn have had a relationship. And he basically is like, hey, by the way, doesn't matter if she loves you, doesn't matter if you love her, or he talked to the dad, I'm gonna marry her. So boom, first set of stakes. How do we surpass this? He is but a commoner. It doesn't even matter if he wins the whole competition. Adamir is just a genuine noble who has real prestige behind his name. There's nothing to be done. First stakes. Okay, second stakes. Adamir tracks William down, finds out he's a Thatcher. He's going to go to jail. Okay, the stakes are way bigger now. It's not just about his love life. It's now he's going to go to jail. Okay, how do we surpass these stakes? Okay, the Prince Edward gets him out. Okay, finally, the end of the movie, the climax. We finally get the jousting rematch we wanted. Adamir versus William. Oh, guess what? New stakes. We find out Adamir is not using a blunt end anymore. He's using a reinforced steel tip to skewer William. Okay, the biggest stakes yet. It's not about his love life. It's not about his freedom. It's about his physical mortality. He is going to die at this point. And so they just keep raising the stakes, but they do it in a convincing way that doesn't feel silly or over the top. And they did it even though this movie kind of beat for beat is what you kind of expect it to be. Like, yeah, it makes sense that Adamir would threaten his love life. It makes sense that he's going to threaten his the fact that he's a peasant, because that's like the big twist. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're expecting that to happen at some point. And then it makes sense that Adamir would threaten him with his life, with like stabbing him. So all of them make sense, and it's nothing like that. It's a big twist that blows you out of the water, but it's just done well enough and just enough good pacing that every stake updoes itself. And then at the end of the movie, when William is stabbed and we think he might die, but he does the last jousting duel and he shoves Adamir on his butt and wins. I think it just makes the payoff so much better. Not only has he won the love of his life, he's now going to get to marry her. Not only has he won his freedom, he is now a genuine knight, not in hiding, but a real knight knighted by the prince. And not only did he live and surpass the stakes of being killed, but he has defeated his mortal enemy. And it's such a beautiful ending. In that moment, he has everything he's been searching for, and he got it because he has a golden heart. And I
Yeah.
just thought it was great.
And it's because he is Sir William Thatcher and not Sir Ulrich, right?
Yes.
There was that motif, there was that theme throughout the film of he's presenting himself as Sir Ulrich, but I mean, what does this mean? It's a facade, right? He's writing that letter to Jocelyn, and it's a heartfelt letter, right? But they get to the end, and he says, signed, yours truly, Sir William, or William, and Jeffrey's like, don't you mean Sir Ulrich? And they end up compromising. He says, your knight, your good knight, your faithful knight. But they establish that there's that tension between, okay, like, this is who I am. This is who I am presenting myself as, right? But it's me who's animating the life of this Sir Ulrich. It's not Sir Ulrich. Sir Ulrich is a shadow, right? It is my character that is of value, right? Over and above any titles. And so him getting to that point where he is a noble, and it's through his consistency, his nobility of heart, his courage. It's so well earned, and it's so satisfying when he is able to claim his own name. Like as he's charging at Adamar in that final joust, and he just shouts William, right?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I thought, as you were saying all that, yeah, I mean, no greater example than at the end when he just screams his own name as he dismounts Adamir.
William.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Yeah, what a great, again, just a simple idea, but an effective storytelling idea, a great motif. Not to hide behind something that you are not, and the difference it can make to be your actual self. I think it's just, again, it's storytelling that's been done in like a billion stories, but they just did it in
Yeah.
a really smart way.
And his armor is off too in that chest. I just made that connection too. Like
Yeah.
he's bearing his whole self to the audience without any protective layers. It's just William, straight up William Thatcher, right? And he is charging ahead as he has always done. And he is at his most vulnerable. But this is where he is at his strongest. And this is where he is able to dismount Adamar. And we get that lovely vision, right, of Tad and Roland and Kate and William standing over and above Adamar, and they say successively, "You have been tried, you have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting," which was the refrain that Adamar had used about William throughout the film, but it's now been reversed.
Yeah, just again another effective storytelling element. Not groundbreaking, but just great, just like smart. Things were set up and they were paid off and they feel justified and they feel good at the end. Just really smart filmmaking.
Yeah. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting. That's just a great line,
Mhm.
too.
And
I love it.
it's again it's friendship. When Adamir did it, he was threatening. He was by himself. He was talking down to him. When they did it to him at the end of the movie, it was all the friends coming together saying one line, kind of showing like, I did this with my friends. Classic anime, friendship overpowers all.
It's just a great movie. It's just a fun time.
I genuinely surprised with how much I enjoyed it. And then again, he immediately defeats Adamar. He kisses the girl, and we start singing "All Summer Night Long" by AC/DC. And again, what better ending could you want? What better ending could you want? Great, great song. Actually, now that I mean, if there's you're the host. If you want to talk about more, please do. But bit of a derailing question. Uh, this specifically spurred a conversation with my wife and I earlier tonight. If you could pick any one lyrical based song, so not like orchestratal, that isn't already used a bunch in movies. What song would you use in a movie?
What song would I use? Man, it so depends on the context, right? But if there's like a pet song that I want to use in a movie, the song that I've been listening to lately is "Girl from Ipanema," but I don't really want to use that in a movie. I feel like it's been used before. It's bossa nova, so like Argentinian jazz. You know that song, "Girl from Ipanema."
Those words sound familiar, but I cannot bring
It's
a
like
tune to my head.
tall and tan and young and
Oh,
lovely, the
yeah.
girl from Ipanema.
Oh,
Yeah.
you could definitely put that in a movie for sure. I don't
Oh,
know
for
how, like,
sure.
emotionally impactful, but, like, I could see a scene easy.
Yeah. So, but probably not that one. It's just been on my mind.
That's a fun idea for a stream. I'm gonna interrupt you for 0.2 seconds. That'd be a fun idea if we do a stream in the future of, like, picking songs and then describing the scene that that song would be in. Okay, anyways, continue.
Ooh, that would be fun. Okay, well, while I'm thinking, do you have one in mind? Because you've talked about this with Merritt already.
I have 2. Uh, well, I really have 1, but then we were just listening to this song and I was like, "This would be great as well." Watsky, the artist, Sloppy Seconds. Don't ask me why. It's a very holiday Christmas vibe song, but I could definitely see that being in like a car ride montage type vibe. If you don't know what it is, it's great. It's called Sloppy Seconds. But then the number one, like I would write this scene around it. Great story. We went to Goodwill a lot in college because we were poor, and that's where I bought clothes. And so I was just there one day, like sophomore year, with some friends, and they did a lot of shopping. I didn't really, so I was kind of just chilling. And we were about to leave, and I just went over to the giant CD wall they had, and I literally just looked through. And I've owned like 2 CDs in my life. I bought a 21 Pilots CD in high school, so I really like them, and then I just bought this for no reason. I looked and I saw it, and I think surely I bought it because of the cover album, but I don't remember what the cover album looked like, the art. But I bought it, couldn't tell you why. And I went and I listened to it, and there was a specific song on the track called "Middle of the Hill" by Josh Pryke, and it just resonated with me in a way no song has ever have. It creates an emotion that is so specific to my childhood and so visceral and real to what I grew up in. And I don't know why, but it painted such a real emotion for me. And I would love to put that in a scene about like some kid growing up. And it's great. I love the song. Again, it's called "Middle of the Hill" by Josh Pryke. One of my favorite songs of all time. But I would 100% put that in a movie.
Yeah, I would do. There's a song called "Marry Me, Archie"
Oh,
by the
great
band
song.
Always. I love
Great.
that. It's honestly one of my favorites.
That would be great in a movie.
Yeah. I feel like the context of that song might be a bit limited. It might be a bit specific, right? Because the song is about a lady that wants to get married, but her boyfriend or partner is very avoidant, right? And it's for reasons that like perhaps aren't like valid, and so there's just a lot of pain there. But you can use songs creatively. Like the song doesn't have to be exactly about what it's describing lyrically. I just have to think about how to use it. But then there's also a song by Sufjan Stevens.
Oh, I like him. I like it. His music's
I do
great.
too. The one that goes do 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 do
I
do
don't, because we're
do
on
do
Discord and you're
do
singing, half every other note is being
do
cut
do do
out.
do. Oh man.
I don't know that one though. I really like his Chicago and 4th of July.
Yeah,
Both of those are really
it's
good.
the same album as 4th of July.
Okay.
Um, and our listeners on YouTube and Spotify will be able to pick out the song, surely. He also wrote the soundtrack for the movie Call Me By Your Name, which I have not seen.
Yeah, yeah, he has. I've not seen it either,
But
but
I've listened to some of the music, and the music's really good.
yeah, great artist. Honestly, Chicago, same realm as the Middle of the Hill. How it kind of reminds me of something nostalgic that I've almost forgotten as a kid that I can't put my finger on. his song Chicago. I really like him as an artist as well. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to derail and talk about this for 10 minutes, but I figured, hey, if you made it an hour into our podcast, you're fine listening to us talk about music for 10 minutes. It's all art.
For sure. And I really enjoyed it. It was a nice detour, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that Sufjan could make good movie music because he has before. So, but yeah, like so those two songs, "Marry Me, Archie," I love. But yeah, with all of that being said, is there anything else that you really want to talk about concerning this movie, or shall we move on to holy moments?
Oh, I think we covered most things. I think we covered most things I wanted to talk about.
All right, sweet. Nathaniel, would you do me the honors of sharing with me your holy moment?
Mm. Man, my holy moments evolved. Now, granted, guys, I watched this movie about 4 hours ago. I usually watch it Tuesday night, but as I said, my wife and I have been binging watching Harry Potter, so that took triumph over the podcast. So I watched it this afternoon. Originally, it was going to be the scene that Jeffrey told about earlier, where Jocelyn and William are in this beautiful cathedral, and we're on this amazing wide shot tracking them for like 4 minutes. Beautiful, just a one take. We don't cut in for a long time, and this is where they're having that argument of like, if you want to love me, then you have to lose the match. And he's like, I will not. Loved it because of one, the cinematography that is showing the restraint as a filmmaker to not cut in, and it was beautiful, and also I really enjoyed Jocelyn and her not even stubbornness, but just, hey, I want to be loved properly, and this is how you will do it. I think it showed a lot about her character, and him refusing showed a lot about his character. But then, as I was thinking, I thought it was going to be the stakes and payoffs, kind of what I talked about earlier, how the stakes rose throughout the movie, and I thought they did a really good job with it. But then, as we talked throughout the podcast, I realized, and that's why, again, I love the podcast, love realizing things about movies that I didn't realize while watching the movie. As a writer and director, that's what I want to do foremost as a filmmaker. I want to write and direct. And the fact that this guy wrote and directed it and showed so much intentionality with the structure. Again, how he put certain weight on certain moments in different acts than you normally would do. Like Jeffrey said, how we got to know our character and then he revealed the backstory. The fact that Jocelyn and William got together really early on in the movie, and then Adamar revealed later on, hey, I'm going to marry her. The shifting perspectives of stakes and payoffs and setups and weights. So the overall structure of the movie. So my holy moment just goes to like the writing and directing, but I guess specifically the nuanced and well thought out structure of our storytelling. And ever so slightly, wasn't anything crazy, but just changed it slightly enough to where it was a really compelling story that honestly could have been really boring and really standard. So to me, just as a writer, that really impresses me. Because again, this is a movie you could watch on the first try and be like, oh, it's fine. It's good. It's like a 3 out of 5. It's funny. Ha ha ha. There's knights, they're jousting, it's cool. But if you really pay attention, I think that writer really did something special. And that's my holy moment, if that can be considered a holy moment.
I think so. And I'm really shocked that I haven't heard more from this director. I'm shocked that I haven't seen more. That apparently, according to your IMDb scroll, he hasn't made much. Because this was very well done, and I'd love to see more from this mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's very clear. If he wrote and directed this, talented, should be doing more. And who knows? Maybe the other. I mean, he had like six titles, 6 credits. I just didn't recognize, I think, any of them. So, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Doesn't mean they're not great.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting creator to follow more. Do like a deep dive of their work.
If anything, this just proves that Jeffrey and I don't know filmmakers. I mean, hey,
Yeah,
a month ago we didn't really know anything about Paul Thomas Anderson, and now we've watched like 3 of his films, and we
Most of-
might watch
yeah.
one next week because one of them is on. No, it's on Jeffrey's list, so we won't watch it next week. It's not on my list; it's on Jeffrey's. So yeah, we're discovering more filmmakers. What's it? Let's shout him out really quick. It is Brian Helgeland. Good job, Brian Helgeland. Hegland. You did a good job.
Brian Helgeland. Yeah, great job. That has been really fun though. Is I'm watching movies and now I'm recognizing actors, and that's been so fun. So like Alan Tudyk, the guy that played Watt, I recognize him from several movies. He played the robot's voice in
Jarvis.
Jarvis. Was it Jarvis?
It was Jarvis, and he played what Jarvis became. What was his name? The red guy that dates Wanda. not Invincible.
Vision?
Vision. Thank you. Invincible, Vision, same thing. It was annoying the crap out of me. No. No. I'm sorry. I'm misspoken. Not Watt. Watt is the redhead. It was Jeffrey. Jeffrey, the hype man. He plays Vision and Jarvis. And it was annoying the crap out of me because I was watching the movie and I was like, I know what he's from. He's from something. And that's one of my favorite things to do while watching movies is just look up, like I look up the movie on Letterboxd, and then I'll go to the director and go on like doom scrolling what they've done, and then go to actors and doom scroll how they're connected in like the world of cinema. And so, yeah, he's Jarvis.
He looks a lot like Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in James Gunn's Scooby-Doo movie.
James Gunn has
As
a
well as-
Scooby-Doo movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was one of his
Is
big.
it the new animated one?
No, it was the live action one.
No.
Well, he wrote it.
Wait,
I don't know if he
are
directed
you talking
it.
about the early 2000s? There was a Scooby-Doo.
The early 2000s with the CGI
What?
Scooby-Doo.
Oh, this is news to me. I
Yeah.
loved those movies growing up.
Yeah, well, that's James Gunn.
Also, fans, again, if you stuck around long enough, you'll care about this story. I have been the sharer of art to so many minds. Freshman year, I showed like 12 different groups of people Scooby-Doo porn without the porn. There is a parody of Scooby-Doo porn, but on YouTube, you can watch it without the porn, so there's no nudity. So it's just a really bad acting of the plot. And I've showed it to like 12 different people, and it was awesome, and it was hilarious. And I watched it a lot freshman year, just showing everyone this really funny video. And I've watched that thing so many times that I have that like mistaken for the Scooby-Doo movie in some regards.
Maybe that'll be my dealer's choice pick for next season.
Just the 13-minute YouTube video of Scooby-Doo porn without the porn. I have to say, that's the whole title. That is what it's titled.
It was great. I haven't seen it in a while.
Very good,
Gotta
yeah. Brush up
freshen
on
up.
it. Well, anyways, enough derailing from me.
No, it's all good. I could have sworn that guy was Matthew Lillard, right? If you look up Matthew Lillard and then you look up whoever it was that played Vision when he played this movie, similar face structures. But then Alan Tudyk, the redhead, plays the voice of the robot in the Superman movie. But he also stars in a TV show called Resident Alien, in which he is like an alien that steals the body of a local doctor, like in a small town, and finds himself in the position of having to be that town's doctor. It's actually really fun. I've seen season 1. I recommend checking it out.
I know of the show. I've not seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, but Alan Tudyk stars in it. But anyway, just like recognizing names, that's cool. With that out of the way, with all those diversions out of the way, what would you give this movie?
Oh, wait, you didn't give your holy moment.
Oh, that's right. I didn't. I'm going to say that my holy moment would be just the subtext in that scene with father and son, right? They're being reunited, and he never explicitly says till the very end that he is William Thatcher. He introduces himself as Ulrich, right? And as that interaction plays out, we see that gradual awareness enter John Thatcher's face, like throughout the course of the conversation. It's a really beautiful and touching thing, and his eyes well up with tears, and he's sort of stumbling towards his son, and they're hugging each other. And perhaps that's the stereotypical, like that is like the moment that one would expect to pull a holy moment from. But I still found it very moving. And as someone that enjoys acting, I think that was very well acted, particularly on John Thatcher's part.
Yeah, stereotypical moment regardless. It brought me to tears. So I think I fully agree. It's a great moment.
Well, with that being said, what would you give this movie? Star rating?
I think I would give it a 3.8, just out of enjoyment. Like it's sometimes you sit down to watch a movie and you know where it's going to end. You know, like you set this up, you know it has to end here. Okay, how can the story be that exciting from A to B? I thought that was going to be this movie. Okay, peasant becomes jousting, becomes knight. He has to win the tournament. Who cares? But the way they got us there was just so fun. The humor was great. The visuals were a lot of fun. You don't see a lot of medieval stuff. You just don't. There's not a lot, especially non-fantasy medieval. You don't see very much non-fantasy medieval movies. And so super specific genre bending combination that I really enjoyed. And so for all those reasons, I think I'm gonna give it a 3.8. Really solid.
Yeah, I mean, something else too is this depiction of the Middle Ages it wasn't dour, it wasn't gray, it wasn't muddy, right? Like a lot of modern Hollywood adaptations of the medieval period are, right? Judging from Hollywood, you'd think that the Middle Ages were almost black and white, right? It's just how desaturated they like to depict the period. But the Middle Ages were colorful, right? They had a lot of dyes, and I think that showed that forth, even though it was inaccurate in a lot of other respects. I'd give it a 3.7, like a 3 point, and it's
Wow. I'm rating it higher than you.
yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I thought, if I do 3.8, then I'll be exactly the same as Nathaniel. And so I got to make it different somehow. But here's what I'll say. It's very interesting, right? Because if I watch a movie that is technically really good, but I didn't personally enjoy it, I might give that a 3.7. But I also might watch a movie that like perhaps isn't a masterpiece, but I really enjoyed it. And then it would get the same rating as that other movie. It's like a 3.7. And I'm not saying that this is a case of like this was not technically well made, but I enjoyed it. I think it was technically very well made, and I enjoyed it. But it's just interesting how that works out, right? You can have two movies, and your enjoyment levels for both are different, but for whatever reason, their ratings are the same. Do you find that interesting?
Yeah, I think I don't remember my exact rating, but I think this is a very similar rating to last week's Psycho. Hang me at the stake, film freak people, but uh, I think it's exactly what Jeffrey said. I think I enjoyed A Knight's Tale more, but Psycho is better done, way more revolutionary, way more important of a film. But they're both around 3.7s, but for different reasons, and they're completely different movies, even though I enjoyed both. So yeah, it is
Yeah.
funny how that's why it's so hard to rate movies because it's just like the scales in which you rate things are never equally the same. So I try to go based off of my enjoyment of it because I know my enjoyments will never purely be on like a gimmicky fun thing. So I'm never going to put like, oh, I don't know, what's like a really gimmicky, like funny movie? Super Baby Geniuses too. Like I'm never going to put something at the top of five just because I think it's really gimmicky. Like I trust my rating to movies to be enough on like the writing, the story, the structure, the cinematography, the overall feel they get out of me to base my rating off of if I liked it. So I don't have to base it off of, oh, the relevance or, well, maybe I didn't enjoy the story that much, but it still was really well done. I think I trust myself to know if I liked it a lot, I think it was firing on all cylinders. Maybe that's a little, I don't know, arrogant to say.
No, I think it's a good way of judging. Right? I think I overthink things too much. I think that I would be benefited if I just
You got to slap a
went
number
with
on
enjoyment.
her.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 for what?
Just Jeffrey, the essence of Jeffrey, you know?
Whoa, 8.5. That's a pretty high rating. Well,
That
you
is.
know what? You know what, Nathaniel? You're getting a 9. You're a 9 in my book.
Well, that's very good. Well, we should probably move on to rolling this dice because this episode's already an hour and a half and I got to edit this.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, you're the host. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good. Let's go ahead and roll that dice or spin that wheel or whatever we're doing today.
All right, guys, I got 4 more choices. Let's see what we're watching next week. And it is spinning, and I'm happy with whatever. Oh,
Drum roll.
back to back hobbies. So next week will be my category for hobbies, and I'm doing Midnight Diner, which is a hobby for cooking. I love cooking. I've been doing it since I was really young. I'll dive in a little bit more about it, why I cook and whatnot. But this is a Japanese movie. I'm really excited. I had a different movie, Burnt, with Bradley Cooper. Very excited. I changed. This will be, I think, a good movie. So Midnight Diner. Jeffrey, I'm going to send you a link because there's a lot of versions of this movie. So we got to make sure we watch the right one.
If you want to keep in touch with us, keep engaged with our content, you can find us on YouTube, on Spotify. We post reels on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Keep in touch with us. Specifically, email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com. That's where we want to see you the most. Well, we want to see your numbers on our other platforms, but we want to see you, right? We want to hear from you at our email. So if you have any thoughts, any suggestions, anything at all, give us a holler, or else we'll probably kill you. Um,
Via jousting.
Via jousting, I will not dull the end of my lance. I will sharpen it illegally, and I will thrust it straight through your heart, and it shall impale you, and then I shall stick the lance into the earth, and it shall be a warning to all those who do not email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com. With that, folks, we love you. Keep safe.
Don't you guys prefer my endings? I give fun advice, life advice, and Jeffrey threatens to kill you when he's the host.
But like, they know it comes from a place of love.
A golden heart, just like William.
A golden heart, yes. Anyhow, we'll see you on the flip side, guys. Peace.